Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're excited to have you joining us today for this important Lancaster safety webinar, Beyond the Certificate, Choosing the Right Safety Training for Your Business. Whether you're a seasoned safety professional, an HR leader, or a business owner trying to navigate OSHA compliance, we know the world of safety and health training can get confusing. And with so many training programs available, how do you know which one truly fits the needs of your team? And how does it keep your business compliant? So today we're going to simplify that for you. We'll be diving into the key differences between OSHA 10 and 30-hour courses and then general awareness training, breaking down what each program covers, who they're designed for, how they address compliance and impact workplace culture, and most importantly, how to choose the training that best aligns with your company's unique operations and goals. At Lancaster Safety, we go beyond checking the boxes. We help you build safer, smarter workplaces through training, programs, and inspections. And we also provide the resources needed to grow a strong safety culture. As we compare 10 and 30-hour outreach trainings to general awareness training, please know that we provide both trainings and will cover the pros and cons of each. We'll do our best to provide an unbiased analysis. So this webinar is all about empowering you with the information that you need to make confident training decisions that go beyond just earning a certificate. So grab your notebook, bring your questions, and let's get started.
Let's meet our speakers. Dean Bortz. Dean is an OSHA consultant at Lancaster Safety Consulting. Dean, CSI, CDT, CCPR, has more than 30 years of experience in engineering, construction, education, and safety leadership. He conducts safety audits, OSHA training, and compliance consulting across multiple industries. Dean's background includes roles as plant manager, project superintendent, corporate trainer, and adjunct professor. As a national instructor and curriculum designer, he served on the CSI Education Committee and taught for IFMA and BOMA. With degrees in engineering, economics, and education, Dean is recognized for his contributions to safety and continues to mentor and support industry professionals nationwide. We are fortunate to have worked with him for a number of years and appreciate the expertise he brings to our clients. Emily Eldridge. Emily has been a dedicated member of the Lancaster Safety Consulting team for over 9 years. She began her journey in scheduling, where she played a vital role in helping clients coordinate on-site safety training. Over time, her passion for client support and innovation led her to transition into online training, expanding access and flexibility for organizations to meet their safety requirements with ease.
So today we're going to cover 4 key points. First, we'll cover an overview of OSHA's training requirements. Second, the difference between the OSHA 10-hour and 30-hour courses. Third, what general awareness training is and when it's needed. And then finally, we'll look at which training is right for you and share some helpful resources. So determining what safety and health training is required is a really big topic. In fact, we have an entire webinar dedicated to this one question, but we want to cover a brief overview today for our listeners. If you're interested in viewing the OSHA training requirements webinar, we've posted the link in the chat for your viewing.
The key is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, is part of the U.S. Department of Labor. And OSHA requires that employers provide training for all applicable occupational hazards that employees may be exposed to in the workplace in a language and vocabulary they understand. So any company that has employees who speak different languages, you can have an interpreter present for training or have multiple sessions conducted in those different languages, because it's about understanding, not just recognition. In addition to training, written programs, materials, signage, again, also need to be in a language that employees understand if they don't speak or understand English. Safety and health training requirements are never a one-size-fits-none, as I like to say, because the hazards that employees come across, say, on a construction project, will definitely be different than those working in a manufacturing plant or a service industry or in transportation. So the key here is that OSHA asks that employers provide training with safety and health training based upon the hazards they are or potentially are exposed to in the work. This gets back to something called the General Duties Clause in the Occupational Safety Health Act legislation that was signed into law and effective in 1971. And that basically says employers are required to provide a place of employment that will be free from any kind of hazards that would cause, here's the key phrase, or likely cause injury, illness, or death to their employees. Notice that it doesn't say possibly, because anything's possible. That's just crazy. So the point being is that this is the coverage. So if there is an accident, an incident that's work related, oh, there's no OSHA standard specifically telling me I'm all good. No, you're not. The general duties clause is the catch-all that catches that. So whenever you hear somebody refer to an incident or a situation that is a general duties clause, or as I like to say, a section 5A1, that's what it's referring to. The bottom line is that, again, provide a place of employment that is free from anything that could cause or likely cause injury, illness, or death. So we're going to take a look at some common topics and the frequency of the training later on. So at this point, we're going to take a look at basically the OSHA 10-hour and 30-hour trainings.
Yeah, so OSHA's 10 and 30-hour training programs are designed to promote workplace safety and health. So the 10-hour course is for entry-level workers focusing on basic hazard awareness and safe work practices, while the 30-hour course is more in-depth, intended for supervisors or those with safety responsibilities. And this one covers additional topics and responsibilities as well. Both programs provide introductory hazard awareness training to help recognize, avoid, and prevent workplace hazards.
You're exactly right. And there are 4 different parts in OSHA requirements. Most of us are familiar with the 2 large ones, which is general industry and construction. The other 2 are agriculture and maritime longshoring. We're going to be focusing on 2 of them today, the general industry, so manufacturing, healthcare, warehousing, public sector, service work, those kinds of things, and the construction industry, where workers are on project sites or are working on sites facing unique safety risks in a work environment that's ever changing.
The curriculum is set by OSHA's outreach training program, and it includes an overview of OSHA, the recognition, avoidance, abatement, and prevention of workplace hazards. And it also includes workers' rights, employer responsibilities, and filing a complaint. There's a list of additional topics to choose from and a requirement for how long topics must be covered. We have a helpful download later in the presentation to go over this more thoroughly.
Yes, it is interesting because, again, the purpose here is to cover basic information, but also to allow you to tailor the training to your requirements. So outreach training schedules do have some limitations. For example, a course or a group has to be a minimum of 3, maximum of 40. I have found in my career that I like to keep that maximum number down because you just don't get the information and interaction you do with a large group. And second of all, there's a time requirement. I can only do up to 7.5 hours of instruction completed in one day. Again, the purpose is this: it allows people to stay alert, engaged, and it helps get a better consistent level of comprehension. In addition, there's mandatory breaks that you build into the schedule. So typically for a 10-hour course, you can't do it in one day with that restriction, so you need to split it up into 2 days. So sometimes people will split it half and half. Now, in order to run a 10-hour OSHA course, you need to plan on 12 clock hours. So sometimes we'll have 2 6-hour sessions. Or I've also found it to have maybe a longer day, 8 hours, and then 4 hours the next day. If you have a lunch break, you have to account for it. The key is documentation. And again, through Lancaster, the forms and information provided will help guide you through this process. So again, for example, I can't hold a 10-hour course in one day. For a 30-hour course, again, sometimes I can do 4 days. Sometimes they may be consecutive. Sometimes they may be, say, once a week, say on 4 Fridays or something like that. So the key is you have to take a look at and use the actual time. So as I mentioned, 12 clock hours for a 10-hour course. For a 30-hour course, it's 36 clock hours. So basically what this means is that oftentimes we'll have say a 50-minute session and then about a 10-minute break. Obviously, depending on the topics, the interests, questions, this can vary a little bit. But if you plan in that fashion, 12 clock hours for the 10-hour course and 36 clock hours for the 30-hour course, you basically cover the requirements and can get the work done.
So we mentioned before that employees have to be trained in a language that they understand, and OSHA outreach trainings are no different. However, if a trainer intends on holding a bilingual session, the overall total class time must be doubled. A 10-hour training would be 20 hours, and a 30-hour training would be 60 hours. So we recommend splitting the trainings up entirely and conducting them one language at a time.
So yes, that's a good point, Emily, to make sure, and I agree, in my experience, I found that having separate trainings in the languages seems to be more effective and efficient. One keynote: is that the OSHA 10 and 30-hour trainings must be conducted by an authorized instructor. These instructors aren't certified or OSHA personnel, but they are authorized to deliver outreach training classes. It's a very crucial aspect to be aware of this when you're looking for this training. You want to make sure your team gets an authorized, authentic training by checking OSHA's outreach website for a list of approved instructors. I have been an OSHA outreach trainer for decades, and primarily in construction, but I added general industry because of demand and my experience in 2009. They are different, and they're different for a reason. The point being is you want people that have done this before, and it's very important. Again, keep in mind, one size may not fit all. You can contact multiple trainers, find out which one best meets your team's needs. So again, you want to ensure that your team gets authentic training by checking OSHA's outreach website for a list of approved instructors. I have been on that list for a number of years, both construction and general industry. And I find I learn something new every time. And I encourage sharing my experience, successes, and failures, because that's how I think we learn best, is by real world. Keep in mind that one size does not fit all. It's recommended you may contact multiple trainers to find the one or ones that best meet your team's needs. Consider what accommodations may be needed for your employees. Language, learning abilities. OSHA also maintains a suspended trainers list. These are trainers that have been found to falsify information or conduct other fraudulent behavior. At any time, OSHA can walk into one of my courses and observe. They can ask for my records. And the key is this: all of Lancaster's authorized outreach training instructors are in good standing and agree to abide by OSHA's Outreach Training Institute requirements, yours truly included.
Final exams are not required for in-person outreach trainings, but they are, however, required for online trainings. Most instructors choose to have a final exam to ensure material comprehension, and these can be done casually in a group format or individually. Now, once the course is complete, the instructor will file the training records, including the attendees, class time schedule, and topic breakdowns to their Outreach Training Institute. Once approved, the cards will be created and mailed to the instructor for distribution. The cards can be mailed directly to each student or, if agreed upon, a company representative.
Yes, Emily, I found helpful, especially working with larger groups or different shifts of companies. Oftentimes we can ship it to the company and with the various attendees and names on it, and they can be distributed that way. And you're correct, except for online, the exams and quizzes aren't required, but it's not a bad idea to have some what's wrong with this picture and people jot down some notes, or maybe a multiple guess, a 10-question quiz on a particular topic, especially if it's an area that you feel you need to address in your company because of history or your concern or track record in that particular area. Maybe it's power tools, maybe it's fall protection, maybe it's lockout tagout, or maybe it's simply making sure that competent person for excavation understands the different types of soils and rocks and things they need to do.
So now that we've had a chance to do an overview on OSHA's outreach training courses, let's switch gears and talk about general awareness training. This type of training also introduces workers to common workplace hazards and basic safety practices across a wide range of job roles and industries. Awareness training is not set to any specific time frame. It reviews applicable job tasks or procedures and can incorporate scenario-based training, supplemental video clips, roundtable discussions, and so on. This flexibility allows Lancaster Safety's general awareness training to cover company specifics and key standard points for a larger number of topics.
Yes, this is excellent because this is something, frankly, that should be done from day one. Most companies, as part of their orientation or onboarding process, in familiarizing the new employee or associate with the work they're to be doing, responsibilities, roles, as well as policies, procedures, also will include safety, basic safety information. So a general awareness. And if you take a look, this diagram takes a look at the most common topics that will likely apply to businesses in construction or general industry. So if you look at the middle chunk of this, where the two circles cross over between construction and industry, these are most likely apply to everybody, regardless. So on the left side, you can take a look at general industry topics, or the right side of this diagram, you can see specific construction topics. So typically, the topics on the two sides are in addition to the topics in the middle. Now, not all of these in industry or construction will obviously apply. So understanding which of these topics apply to your business can be confusing at times. So again, give us a call. We'll walk you through the process and basically audit your operations to determine employee exposure, topic applicability. I've also found that company policy procedures help set the tone, but the practice then will confirm or deny that. So it's important that, just like quality assurance and quality control oftentimes is a circular approach, and one step leads to the other, it's just round and round, you'll find the same thing's true with safety. So if we can take a look and by our practices, hey, we may need to adjust our policy procedures. Now we're back in synchronization. So in our experience, the most effective training keeps employees engaged and interested. Longer training does not only equate to higher quality or retention, time and attention kinds of things. So folks who are accustomed to an active hands-on workday, they're going to shut down after an hour or two, whatever. So it's always good to put the hands-on part of that. The key is that we find that by hitting key points, we can keep the training moving along at a steady pace, not too fast, not too slow, but just right for the group we're working with. Our general awareness training is typically shorter. So hour or two up to 8 hours, maybe an average of 4. It depends on the number of hazards that employees are exposed to.
There's a wide range of what counts as a qualified instructor. And what we look for when hiring our safety professionals simply comes down to experience in different industries and backgrounds, the ability to read and understand the group, and be able to relate the content in a clear way. They have to be engaging, personable, and relatable. Anyone can take a class on adult learning and elements of teaching, but we found that if an instructor knows the content, can provide real-world examples of application, and be able to promote discussion among the group, then they possess attributes of a qualified instructor. And having a specific industry recognized credential that states they're qualified is favorable too. They might have a degree in safety management or a related field, have acquired their OSHA outreach authorization, or become a certified safety professional. Now, general awareness training is flexible. You can choose how to complete the training based off of what works best for your business. A qualified instructor can train your employees one-on-one or in a group setting. It can be conducted in person, online with a module-based system, or in a live remote setting. Lancaster Safety offers training in all of these formats nationwide, helping to make training simpler and easier to coordinate. We can also incorporate supplemental materials to help increase engagement and retention rates, such as presentations, quizzes, scenarios, demonstrations, what's wrong with these photo pictures, and even games.
Emily, you're exactly right. And it's not uncommon, for example, if I have a customer that needs help with, say, powered industrial trucks, forklifts, or it could be something with mini excavators, say, for a construction company. Oftentimes we'll have a bit of group work where we'll take a look, understand the concepts, say, of combined center of gravity, the equilibrium point, if you will, understanding the capacity of the vehicle, how it works, and then go out and individually do the walk around, document the walk around of the piece of equipment to know it's in good working order, and then go ahead and have a demonstration. Show me how to operate the vehicle, show me how the various components work. To pick a load, carry a load, those kinds of things. So it's really important to incorporate those kinds of things into the general awareness training, because it keeps things moving, it keeps folks engaged, and sort of fun.
Next, we're going to look at what training is best for you. So let's start by asking, is the 10 or 30-hour training required?
Emily, that's an excellent question. And really the short answer to the question is no. This is voluntary training that gives you a consistent look at OSHA's requirements. For example, some general contractors may require employees to go through one of these trainings before allowing your company as a subcontractor or subcontractor to work on their job site. There are also some states that have their own training requirements. You see them on the map here: Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, Rhode Island, and the New England area, as well as Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Missouri, and Nevada. You'll also have certain other areas, portions of other states and jurisdictions which will ask for this. In some states, for example, working on a public sector project, unless everyone on that crew has at least a 10-hour construction, they won't permit you on the construction site. So the key is take a look at the blog page on outreach trainings for more information on each state's requirement. We also think of outreach training as a one-size-fits-all type of training that basically ensures standard OSHA content is reviewed and delivered to employees. Many times clients are surprised when we recommend a company-specific training based upon the hazards their employees encounter over a 10 or 30-hour training. Why? Because it's going to give you an opportunity to better customize the training to your work environment, to the products and services you provide.
So here's some guidance on whether a 10 or 30-hour training might be right for your workplace. Advantages include regulatory credibility. So these programs are developed by the OSHA Outreach Training Program, providing a high level of legitimacy that employers, clients, and regulators recognize and respect. They provide in-depth instruction that offers extensive coverage of OSHA topics and knowledge, and the certificates are nationally recognized. Participants receive an official Department of Labor OSHA card, which is often required by employers, contractors, or job sites across the country. So the main downside of these trainings is that they are long and they involve a big time commitment for your team. Now, as we mentioned, the curriculum is also mandated and does not provide for as much flexibility.
You're exactly right. One advantage is that there are required topics. For example, 7 of the 10 hours for the 10 hour in construction or general industry are basically prescribed by OSHA to cover these items. And it's not uncommon. We know the so-called fatal four: falls, struck by objects, caught in or between materials or excavations, and electrocution. Those 4 events account for 90% of the injuries and fatalities every day at work. So you would expect that to be obviously required. 30-hour, same thing. They also add some other key required elements, for example, on safety leadership. How do we create a safety culture, training strategies, those kinds of things. So it's really key to make sure that you take a look and see if the 10 or 30 is right for you, or the general awareness may be a way to start, or both. So again, to take a look at the difference in the audience, the 10 hours is designed to raise awareness. It basically gets people familiar with the OSHA standards. The federal OSHA standards are adopted by all states, and over half the states, by the way, have adopted a state plan. State plan means that the inspectors and OSHA employees and the state plan is approved by OSHA. It must be at least as stringent as the federal, but they've elected to do this to address certain industries. For example, some states, because OSHA does not have a forestry or arboriculture standard, have adopted a state plan so they could develop their own in that field. Other states decide they want to expand upon the OSHA federal requirements to add specific requirements because of their track record concerns. This also can relate to insurance, Bureau of Workers' Comp, and other requirements depending on the industry and state you work with. So the 10-hour raises awareness. The 30-hour is designed for supervisors, crew leads, line leads, environmental health safety persons, persons that have impact upon the policy procedure as well as the practice, because it provides a greater depth and variety of training on an expanded list of topics with workplace hazards in each industry. And again, there are authorized trainers, there are specific procedures and materials that are used in each industry training program level to maintain a consistent level of quality and performance.
So we get this question a lot, and the question is, should we take the course online or should we do it in person?
Boy, that's always a good one. I tell you what, it comes down to this. You can take a look. There's obvious advantages with online as far as not having testing requirements. Uh, again, expecting the course to take well over 10 hours, it does not typically. The disadvantage is there is typically lower retention rate because you don't have that interaction, and it can be cost effective. Also, it depends on learning style, because we know that some of the more experienced individuals, more mature individuals, oftentimes prefer in person because that is their background in learning and understanding, hands-on. Younger generations, younger folks less experienced, are typically more amenable toward the online. So it also can appeal to age and experience in your company. The big thing with the in-person is there are no testing requirements, and basically the trainer will control the clock on it. We have demonstrated higher retention rates because of this interaction, and it's definitely cost effective for, again, groups, again, anywhere between 3 and 40, because you can do this at the same time and place. I've had the pleasure to be able to do it in pretty much all modes, both online as well as in person, even live online via learning management systems like Zoom and those kind of things. I've had a wide variety of time frames where we'll do half and half or we'll split it up. So there's a lot of flexibility that Lancaster can provide you for online or in-person training. We also get feedback from employers whose staff took course in online module-based setting. It can take up to 15 hours to complete that because of the instructional material and testing. So again, it may be cost effective to do this training at their own pace and their own time. Oftentimes it's not as cost effective for a group. Again, we know that in-person training helps to ensure better comprehension, retention, and engagement. You also get more of an open, welcoming environment. It helps promote questions and discussion because after all, this is not about finding fault. It's about finding fact when it comes to incidences as well as close calls. Now, it does require scheduling. It can be a challenge to address as far as logistics of your team production needs, but with a little work, we can accomplish this. I've had the pleasure of working standard first shift, third shift, having split shifts. There's all kinds of ways we can do this. And Lancaster Safety does provide a live remote option that is more similar to that in person, as mentioned earlier, than a module training event. It will meet the standard time requirements of the 10 or 30 hour, but again, it does require prior authorization from the Outreach Training Institute to be able to do this. It's simply a matter of letting OSHA know, hey, we have an upcoming session we want to do. Here's the parameters for that. Just simply verify, here's how we're going to do it. Verify that we meet the requirements. They say, yes, it does, and we're on our way. So I guess the key here is that in summary, you can choose online for flexibility, in person for consistency, and then consider your logistical and budgetary impacts.
Now let's look at financial implications. The average construction employee earns about $55 an hour. Students report that online 10-hour training taking between 13 and 18 hours, while the 30-hour can take upwards of 50 hours. So here's the cost breakdown of an extra 20 hours of training for an employee taking the 30-hour course.
Emily, you're right. And again, regardless if you are working with employees that are at a lower or higher rate, the key is we all know, especially in construction, time is money, but that's also true in industry. I will tell you this, for every dollar I spent on safety, I documented at least $7 I got back. I've been very fortunate in many decades in the construction and general industry arenas to have 6 recordable incidences, 5 sprains and a broken leg. And I can tell you for every dollar I spent the day of the incident, ER treatment, the rest of it, by the time I was done with it, I spent 20. So the bottom line is real simple. You think safety is expensive? Try an accident, and it doesn't take much. Today, 15 people will be killed at work, 3,000 will be injured every working day in this country. So let's take a look. Who is the best audience for general awareness training? Again, general awareness training is a great way to provide for all employees, a good fit for most businesses. It does help with OSHA compliance and the materials based off the written programs that you have. If you're not familiar with written safety and health programs or need a refresher, you'll find a link at our Anatomy of a Written Programs webinar in the chat for you. So there's no question it's shorter, it is faster than the 10-hour training, which makes retraining easier to fit in schedules without disrupting operations as much. It does give you more flexibility because on site, a safety instructor can tailor the session to your specific job task, walk through how OSHA rules apply to the actual work being performed, hands-on instruction, such as forklift I mentioned earlier, or equipment-specific training, or let's go ahead and observe a lockout tagout operation. After all, an audit, at least annually, of that is required. So we can get it done and we can take a look hands-on. Fantastic. So we also, me and the other instructors are directly to your location to train. So you can gather folks in a convenient training space. Maybe it's a part of your warehouse, or it could be a conference room. We can have your OSHA training completed in an effective and productive way.
And if scheduling on-site training is a challenge, as it often is with multiple shifts, remote employees, or just having scattered locations, Lancaster Safety offers our online OSHA Training Center, also known as the OOTC. That's the department that I work in. And this offers a really powerful alternative because workers can complete training anytime, anywhere, whether on different shifts or in different regions without needing to coordinate around vacations or absences. The OOTC is ideal for onboarding new hires immediately, saving your leadership valuable time. Plus, safety managers gain full visibility. You can track employee progress in real time, access detailed reports, and store records automatically, which is an essential feature when preparing for OSHA inspections. So we posted a link in the chat for you to check this out as well. The only con of general awareness training compared to the 10 or 30-hour trainings is that you don't receive a certification card upon completion. Now, we do offer general awareness training completion cards that employees can easily carry in their wallet. And this is just another way to show record of their training in addition to paper or electronic records, which is something OSHA will request to see in the event of a workplace inspection.
So the key is that no matter what training format you utilize, getting everyone home safely is the ultimate goal, isn't it? Because safety isn't something you did, it's something you do. Make safety a habit, work to improve. Make it a part of every agenda item. Start time of the meeting, end time of the meeting, topics, safety. Have people report successes. Reward people for reporting close calls, not penalize them. Again, it's about finding fact, not fault. And by doing this, it's amazing. Watch what happens. So again, the key is very simple. The only acceptable rate of accidents is 0. So be safe, avoid accidents. Watch out for things that could go wrong. Problem solve. If you see a coworker doing something and you thought, they might get hurt doing it that way. That's not the right way to think. They will get hurt doing it that way. It's only a matter of time. So make it part of your everyday activities at your facility, at your company, on your projects. Be safe.
Yeah, so as we wrap up this webinar, we'd like to talk about the resources that we'll be sending out as a thank you for attending today's presentation. First up is our safety training frequency chart, which goes over common topics and how often they need to be trained on. Now, we want to stress that employees are trained on any safety hazards they may encounter on the job. This chart will help guide you along the way. It's actually one of our most popular downloads. Next, we have our 10 and 30-hour training requirements blog. This page is routinely reviewed and updated as states and areas add requirements at a moment's notice.
Emily, that's excellent. We talked about this comparison guide early in the webinar. We'll include it as well, because this guide outlines, again, the advantages and disadvantages of completing 10 or 30-hour course, online or in person. It'll be really handy when deciding what best meets your company's needs.
Lastly, this download breaks down the subject requirements for 10 and 30-hour trainings. This one pictured is specifically for the construction industry, but we do also have general industry and construction downloads on our website at lancastersafety.com.
Oh, Emily, that's awesome. Great information. I'd like to thank you, Emily, for taking some time with you, and I'd like to thank all of you on this webinar for attending today. Hope this has provided you some guidance on what safety training to take. Please reach out to our team with any questions at lancastersafety.com or by calling 888-403-6026, 888-403-6026. And always have a safe day.